Legend has it that it was written by the Dark Ones. Necronomicon Ex Mortis. Roughly translated, Book of the Dead.
One of my favorite film trilogies of all time is Sam Raimi's Evil Dead series. It's a perfect blend of comedy and horror that's completely innovative and iconic. With all the great props in the film, it's almost hard to choose which one's my favorite. There's the Kandarian dagger, the boomstick, the chainsaw hand, the robot hand, the evil hand, laughing deer head. But of all of them, I think the most iconic is the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, or the Book of the Dead. Just seeing the book sends a shiver down your spine. It's equal parts fascinating and revolting, and that's before you open it up. What's the real history of the Book of the Dead? And how did this memorable prop get made? Well, to start off, we talked with Tom Sullivan, who designed and created the Necronomicon for Evil Dead 1 and 2.
In the script for Evil Dead, which is of course called Book of the Dead when we filmed it, the book was described as having some kind of animal skin, which I took as leather, with a few letters from an ancient alphabet on it. And I had seen a film called Equinox.
Come on. Here it is, the real book. Now it's your book. Take it.
The book in Equinox is exactly what they described in the script for Evil Dead. Old leather book with a couple of letters on it.
It's clear to see the inspiration it had on the Evil Dead series. A group goes out into the mountains and finds a book of evil that was translated by an old professor, which turns everyone insane, and it ends with being saved by a necklace. Equinox is a fascinating film that I highly recommend. It's just a level above the type of films that Mystery Science Theater 3000 riffs on, but with a budget of $6,500, they really spent that money well.
All the money you ever want, kid!
It even earned the praise of Ray Harryhausen, who they're obviously emulating in the film. So the Evil Dead takes this idea of the Necronomicon and it perfects it.
You will not escape. In 1 year and 1 day, you will be dead.
Are you kidding me? 1 year and 1 day to get killed kind of ruins the stakes. I think that making it Dead by Dawn was a much more suspenseful choice.
Dead by Dawn! Dead by Dawn!
So I thought, well, if it's a book of evil, yeah, it's all evil. That's my Sam impersonation. I thought it should be something, you'd look at the book and you wouldn't want to pick it up. And the most disgusting thing I'd ever heard of was Ilsa Koch, whose husband was Commandant Koch of a concentration camp. His creepy little wife would have prisoners skinned, their tattoos and stuff, and she made curtains and lampshades and book covers. She was hung at Nuremberg. And interestingly enough, Ilsa Koch, her Commandant husband, is related to the Koch brothers, the guys buying out the Republican Party these days. So there's my Evil Dead Nazi connection. Anyway, I thought a human skin book cover was interesting, but if you used like the back, you wouldn't tell it's really from pig skin or animal skin necessarily. So I thought we'd need a recognizable feature. I wasn't going to put a schlong on the cover, although a book with a handle is not a bad idea. So I put a face. I used Hal Delrich's, who played Scotty. I used his mold and did a slush mold with latex, about 5 or 6 layers, peeled it out after it dried, and glued it on to a piece of corrugated cardboard. And during the first 2 or 3 weeks, I would, after I finished everything else, I'd sit around the table and talk film with Josh Becker, and I would do my drawings. I drew these pictures, and they were based on my memory of Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks of his anatomy drawings. My idea for the book was that it's the cookbook. It's the how-to book. It was created by the Leonardo da Vinci of ancient Sumeria. Sam didn't need to actually refer to the pages in there. But I'm always thinking, well, it's better for the actors, it creates more of a thing, and hey, they might show it, and I could be famous for drawing pictures in the book. And what do you know, it worked.
What is the real history of Books of the Dead? Recently I was at the British Museum in London, and in their Egyptian exhibit right across from Cleopatra, there are the papyrus scrolls known as the Book of the Dead. It was pretty fascinating how close the writing looked in these pages to the Necronomicon, and it kind of sparked this idea for props too. So the purpose of the Egyptian Book of the Dead was to instruct the deceased on how to overcome the dangers of the afterlife by enabling them to form into different mythical creatures and give them passwords into the next realm. The Book of the Dead is actually a rough translation. A better translation would be the Book of Life, but I guess it doesn't have the same ring to it. So where did the word Necronomicon come from? Well, for that you have to go 2,000 years into the future, to H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft, the cosmic horror author, says that he came up with the word Necronomicon in a dream. His work has been adapted into dozens of films, and the cosmic horror style he popularized has inspired dozens of filmmakers over the years. It's too bad he was a notorious racist.
I own the rights to the book, so when Evil Dead 2 came up, they asked me back for that. They wanted a slightly larger book, and so no problem. I just didn't Xerox the pages, enlarge them, and then touched them up and everything. I sculpted a new cover, refining the face a little bit, making it look a little bit more like a face. The first book kind of looks like a glob. You can kind of make a face out of it, which is what I was after. I didn't want it to read like somebody's face, but that kind of changed. Created a number of books for the film, some stop-motion books and prop books and stunt books and all that. And then there were the 16 lost pages. Because, of course, in Evil Dead, the first film, the book is thrown into the fire and destroyed. So to bring back the curse, we had Annie and Ed find the pages in a dig.
You haven't aged a day in 3,000 years.
Maybe longer.
And I made up several new pages for that. You know, the prophecy page of the hero who shall deliver us from the terrors of the Deadites page. And funny story on that, I needed to know what Bruce's costume looked like, so I can draw a picture of 1300 AD setting where he's being worshipped by the knights, last shot of the film. The photograph they gave me was a Polaroid. At that time, Bruce had white pants on. I drew the white pants on there. And then Evil Dead took commentary, and they're going, yeah, Sullivan gave him white pants instead of black pants. And so I've got the photo that proves that's what I was given. Funny story.
Oh, that's great.
That's how films are made. You kind of scramble together your best ideas and throw them out there. The book seems to have really hit a nerve. I remember I was at one of my early conventions at Cinema Wasteland, and a young guy came in and asked me, if, was I the guy who made the book? And yes, I was. He goes, can you read that for me? And I go, well, it's all gobbledygook. I just came up with hieroglyphs that I could barely remember from what was in the background of the Ten Commandments. He goes, no, what's in that book is actually, it's a real language. I go, no, it's all made up. And he insisted it was real. So okay, it is. Yeah, you got me.
Yeah, whatever you want, kid.
Today I call the language I came up with Bolskrit. Sanskrit and another word.
Interesting. I love it.
Yeah. If you're interested in more about Tom Sullivan, I recommend watching the film Invaluable, which is available on DVD, and it goes more into depth on Tom Sullivan's contribution to the Evil Dead universe. Since Evil Dead 2, the Necronomicon has had several redesigns. Ash vs. Evil Dead is continuing to break new grounds with inventiveness when it comes to the Necronomicon. It's in the middle of the third season, and if you're still watching this video and haven't seen the show, please go do it now. In fact, sign up for the free Stars app and play it on repeat, and then maybe play it on Netflix in the other room. It really needs the viewers, and they keep coming up with these amazing visual effects and inventive stories that blends the horror comedy genre almost as well as it did in the trilogy.
Fuck me.
I have a bunch more of these videos planned if this one goes well, so subscribe if you like the video, and listen to our podcast Dead by Dawn, where we broke down Evil Dead 2 into 2-minute chunks and talked with many more people behind the designs of the film. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay
groovy.
For our next episode, the prop may not be as iconic, but the mystery that still surrounds it completely fascinates me. Hint for next episode, paper MRI machine.